have a good day, but three students. So we'll start our discussion about farming systems and cropping systems, and this is the first module that we will be tackling for this semester until uh, until June. But before we start, may I want first to reiterate the following modules that we will be uploading and some activities that you will be dealing. So first, the first module is Introduction to Farming System. Second, Community System-Based Agriculture. Third, Salt Technology. 4, Organic Agriculture. 5, Good Agricultural Practices. 6, Sustainable Agriculture. 7, Biodynamic Farming. 8, Precision Farming. 9, Farm Tourism. And the last module that will be released is Special Topics. So here are the mode of teaching delivery that we will be doing these new normal classes. So I created a group chat which will serve as your virtual room. So please treat the group chat as your classroom. Secondly, aside from quiz that we will be given per chapter, an activity or exercise or practicum or will be given individual, and field exposure may be considered depending upon the situation of the pandemic. And third, how about uploading of your module will be as follows. So first, a PDF format will be uploaded through the group chat. So you can download the PDF format in the group chat, which is easier, no? But if you want images and if you want the JPEG format, it will be uploaded via our Facebook group, which I created. And lastly, for you to understand more the lesson, an audio visual lecture or a video lecture will be uploaded via YouTube for you to easily understand, and you can answer easily the quizzes and do the activities. So note, reading the modules and watching or viewing the discussion is essential in order for you to facilitate in answering the questions in the quizzes and do the activities. Okay, so for now, your quizzes must be answered in a clean sheet of paper and must be pictured well or nice in a close-up shot, and it must be readable. Or if you have the CAM scanner application, you may use that before sending your quiz to your instructor's messenger. So you can also send your quiz personally here in the College of Agriculture, observing social distancing and health protocols, and also your activities. So that's all. So let's start now the formal lecture for Chapter 1, Introduction to Farming Systems. So the etymology or the origin of the word farming system came from a two word. We have farming is a process of harnessing solar energy to form economic plant and animal products. And system, it implies a set of interrelated process organized into functional entity. In short, a farming system is a complex interrelated matrix of soil, plants, animals, implements, labor, and capital interdependent farming enterprises. So, ibig sabihin, it is the interrelation, it is the integration of all aspects, all resources, all materials, all capital needed to form a systematized farming. Okay, a systematic farming or a well-planned farming. So the farm is viewed as a holistic manner. So in short, farming system is a manner of farming holistically or a step-by-step process following a procedure. Okay, so farming system is the scientific integration of different interdependent and interacting farm enterprises. So, ibig sabihin, in this farming system, it is a form of farming that you were to efficiently use the different resources, the land, labor, and also the capital that must that must generate an income for the family. So here are the farming system components. So first, we have the soil. So in the next chapter that we will be dealing, the improvement is the soil is one factor that uh, that is needed in producing crops. So you need to improve your soil by supplementary nutrients, okay? By conducting soil analysis for you to know what to supply in the soil. And then water, okay? Water is essential in farming, and then the crops you intend to cultivate. And then the livestock, so the livestock either hogs or either uh, poultry, the labor or the manpower needed, and other resources like for example the machineries, okay, and also other resources needed is the skills, the proficiency, and the technology and knowledge of farmer, no? So why in the circled graph it states their farm family? Because in the farm it comprises not only the farmer but as well as the member of the family must be in this part of the farming system in order for them to help in planning. Like for the example, the children will help in the labor, okay, and then the mother will help in the budgeting or making a marketing plan or budget plan of the farm, and then the father could be the supervising or the head of the farm family, depending upon on what particular agricultural ventures they want to engage. Okay, so functions in limitation of capability, resources, and socio-cultural settings. So the farming system is a holistic development for the community. Okay, for the community, why? Why does the farm family consider the community? Because of some factors, like for example, capability of the family to provide the necessary materials needed in the farm. You know? Second, the resources needed, like for example, the fertilizer, the seeds, and then socio-cultural settings also. What are the need of the community and what are the different livelihood or farming livelihood of the community. Like for example, the community or a certain barangay has the same livelihood, then they may compete with each other. That's why in your activity, I included there for you to survey at least 5 farmers for you to compare what are their forms of farming system as their livelihood. Magkakapareho ba? Kasi kapag magkakapareho din, sila din ang nagkakakompetensya sa market. So farming system doesn't include only the technology, the practice that is being employed in cultivating crops, in raising animals, but as well as the holistic uh, and systematized process of farming as a business and as a venture. Okay. So second, ballot, interacting with physical, biological, and economic factors. Like for example, in the physical factors, what are those barriers in farming? Okay. We have here uh, the presence of rocks or stones in your farms, and as well as the market farm to market road situation. For the biological aspect, we have here also the pests, the presence of pests and diseases, and economic factors. You need also to consider the uh, economic situation of your buyers, no? So who tend to buy your products? Like for example, you conduct a feasibility study or you make a business plan for vegetable production in Banawe, but what most the consideration is the buyer, okay, or the market. And then managing agricultural activity or even non-farm vocations, like for example, what are other agricultural activities needed in the farm. So we have here record keeping is essential, and it is a part of a farming system because it needs to be systematized, it needs to be holistic, and it needs to be scientific in order for the farming system not to be wasted, but as a business or as an income generating source of livelihood. And even non-farm vocations, like for example, your basic communication skills, okay, the basic estimation and calculation is much needed as your vocation as a farmer, okay. So in the image, you consider uh, the farmer, the environment in the farm. So the farmer itself includes here his family, the history of the family, okay, the knowledge of the farmer or the family, ano bang kakayahan or ano bang kaalaman ng pamilya para makapagpatayo ng isang agribusiness, like for example, hog production. Do they have such knowledge and practice, or is it only the traditional? Okay. And then perception or preferences, like for example, the perception of the family in acceptance of a certain technology, like for example, the rice fish culture. So aside from just raising rice, what are other ventures that could be included in order for the farming system to be meaningful as livelihood? Okay. Aside from nagtatanim ng rice, ano pa bang ibang venture na kayang gawin ni farmer? Because farming system is an integration in an interdisciplinary practice of farming. Hindi lang only crop production, hindi lang only animal, but at least integration of disciplines in agriculture. Okay, and here also we have here the projects. What could be the projects of the farmer? So in the projects alone is his linkage to the community, no? Okay, so because the family is the basic unit of the community, okay, and then as the farmer cultivates or raise hogs, then he need to consider the environment. So what are those environment? So we have here network. So networks, ibig sabihin ng network ay ang kanyang pakikisalamuha sa komunidad, no? So we have here what we call community system agriculture or CSA that is needed for farmer, and his partnership to other people, like farmer to farmer, or farmer to a politician, or farmer to the municipal agriculture's office, or farmer to an agriculturist, or any institution. So importante sa isang farmer na makiling sa bawat institution, most especially agricultural institution, like for example, linkage to Department of Agriculture, linkage to DA, no? Or linkage to BLGU. That's why you need to study also the perception of the farmer in terms of his or her acceptance and as a social well-being, no? Market. So the farmer needs to consider first the market, no? And he need to assess what are the needs in the market, no? Because nowadays the law of demand and supply, no, affects the price of the commodity, no? But for a farmer, he needs to consider the market, okay. And then we have here also the policies. The farmer needs to be governed by policies as a part of the farming system. So like for example, the Organic Agriculture Act or Republic Act 10068 of 2010, okay. We have the Republic Act 8435. And then the biophysical context of the farm and as well as the community. As I mentioned, maybe the road could be the barrier for a farmer to implement such venture. Okay, and lastly, the farm itself. Okay, we have here the agroecology. So agro, ibig sabihin, agricultural related yan. Ecology is the interaction of living and non-living things, no? Okay, like for example, the land is the land capable in growing such particular crop. Like for example, uh, intend to plant carrots, but is the land capable, okay, in growing carrots? And also included here the micro environmental aspect, like for example, the weather condition, no? Okay, and the animals. So what are uh what are those animals that could be domesticated aside from you were to cultivate or grow vegetables, no? So the integration of more than two disciplines, no? And then liquidity. Okay, so ibig sabihin ng liquidity is your financial activity in the farm. Like for example, had you enlisted your expenses? Do you have Gantt chart or do you have an activity schedule? Who are those people concerned to do the activity? Do you have a target? Do you have a projected income? Do you have a market? Do you have a what we call that? Projected cost of production, in order for you to prepare not only the activities, not only the resources, but as well as the financial records of your farm. Okay, so role of farming system. So first is for food security. Okay, like for this time, it's pandemic, then people now are raising their own animals, growing their own crops, no, in their backyard because they had realized the importance of food security, most especially household food security, no? Okay. Uh, Either it is only for home consumption, yung matitira, yun yung ibibenta. But as long as it was produced by the family, then it could be considered as a savings, no? Kasi nga, nagtanim ang family, hindi na siya bumili ng kanyang kakainin. So that is a saving. Yung pera sa ng pambili niya ng gulay or ng karne or bigas, kasi nagtanim siya o nag-alaga siya, it saves the money of the family. Second, to provide balance of food. As we mentioned earlier that farming not only deal with farming system doesn't deal only with crops, doesn't only deal with animals, it doesn't only deal with fishes, but it deals with more than two interdependent discipline. Like for example, you grow crops, you raise animals, or vice versa, no? So it has a balance of producing food. Hindi lang meat ang na-produce, pati pa vegetables or vice versa. Quality food basket in the community. Hyperactivity and enhanced farm income, which is more relevant to the farmers because paano pag nagkaroon ng ASF, hog raiser lang siya, no? Kapag may iba siyang livelihood in agriculture, nag-hog raising siya, at saka nagtatanim siya ng vegetable, at least yung kanyang vegetable farming ay siyang sasalo sa kanilang income, no? Or vice versa. Okay, nagtanim siya ng gulay pero na-wash out kasi nagbagyo, inag-alaga siya ng manok, at least he has a sustainable income kasi may sasalo sa kanilang livelihood. Okay. It's not a monoculture or iisa lang ang uh, way of living. At least we have integration of both animal and crop production to support each other. No? Okay. So that is one way of having a high productivity enhanced farm income of a farmer. Okay. Effective recycling of resources. So what is this effective recycling of resources? So we have here also the uh, cycle in farming system. For example, yung tain ng manok ay i-process as chicken manure for vegetables. And the leftovers or the reject in the vegetables could be used as a feed or as a source of food for animals. No? So, nagkakabalikan. So, the recycling of resources. No? So, minimizing environmental pollution. That's why one of your modules is organic agriculture and good agricultural practices on how we were to farm and how we were to grow and raise animals harmoniously with nature. And lastly, employment generation. As I mentioned earlier, how could be farming a livelihood? So this will now plays a role of record keeping, professionalism, marketing strategy, business planning, farm business planning, linkages, and marketing. So features of diversified farming in sustainable agriculture. So you were to maintain the vegetative cover. So ibig sabihin ng maintain to vegetative cover, you need to protect your soil. You need to maintain the fertility of your soil or improve or enhance its fertility by having a vegetative cover. Like for example, in that image, you consider vegetable crop, but it has a cover. Okay, it has vegetations, no, along the plots in order to avoid leaching, erosion, and loss of moisture. Second, provide regular supply of organic matter. We know the ideal soil has at least 25% water, 25% air, 45% mineral, and 5% organic matter in order for the humus and nutrients to be more available for the crops. Okay. Enhanced nutrient recycling mechanism, I discussed it earlier. And pest control, enhanced biocontrol activity, like for example, the avoidance of the use of synthetic chemicals as pesticides. Instead, you will use predators. No? You will use natural enemies. You will use uh, insect repelling crops. So those are some of the biocontrol activity in order for you to control pests. Okay, so according to Biggs, the FSA or the farming system approach requires commonly homogeneous type of farmers. So what is a homogeneous type of farmer? So homogeneous type of farmer, ibig sabihin ng homogeneous, they are the same. They have the same practices, they have the same knowledge, they have the same approach in farming. No? Like for example, we observe this in Tinok. Okay, so the farmers in Tinok has the same practice in raising vegetables in conventional and in chemical way. Okay, so they are a homogeneous type of farmers. Okay, so is that type of farmer being recommended? Okay, we'll find out later. It is an interdisciplinary approach since there will be uh, integration of disciplines of agriculture. Like for example, you were to deal on horticulture plus hog raising plus rabbit production plus my farm tourism pa. Then that could be an interdisciplinary approach. Okay? It is a participatory in bottom-up planning until it will conquer the community. So, what is this participatory approach? Okay. In the community, in the family, the uh, the elder must assign a role of a certain member of the family in the farm. No? Like for example, who will be tasked as a record keeper? Okay. Who will be tasked as uh, maintenance? Okay. Who will maintain the farm? Who will be tasked to conduct harvesting? Who will be tasked to conduct marketing? Who will be tasked to conduct advertising of the products or promotion of the products? So each member of the family must have a participatory approach in order for the farm to boom. Okay? And then bottom-up planning, ang ibig sabihin ng bottom-up planning, from the farmer itself, going to the members of the family, and from the family, going to the neighbors, okay? Sa kanyang mga kasamahang farmers until it will enrich the community. Okay? So, the bottom-up planning for farming system approach is effective if we have a homogeneous types of farmers na nabanggit natin kanina. Because a homogeneous types of farmers have the same level of practice, have the same level of thinking, and have the same level of knowledge, skills towards agricultural ventures. No? So, from the farmer, okay, going up to the members of the family, going to the neighbors or the co-farmer or co-worker, and then going up to the community, so on and so forth. Why? Why bottom-up planning is essential? Okay, it's because if the farmer has no plan in farming, and they are a homogeneous type of community which has the same level of knowledge and approaches, then a competition among themselves will be observed. No? Pari-parihong tinanim, pari-parihong inalagaan, ayun, sila na ang magkakakompetensya sa merkado. Okay, next, it is an approach to develop farm household system. I mentioned earlier that a household comprises the members of the family as well as hired laborers. So the approach here in developing farm household system is the delegation of tasks among members and laborers. Okay? But in a typical rural community, most likely farm is a family business. Okay, bibihira lang po yung may laborer because that is the for commercial and very large scale farming. No? It is built on the principles of productivity, profitability, stability, and sustainability. Like for example, the productivity, the principles of productivity, it needs to enlist the possible activities in production, okay, on how to produce a certain yield. So dapat may potential yield na target ng farmer, and then he need to have the skill and the knowledge on how to raise hogs, on how to raise poultry, on how to raise fish, or on how to develop a certain farm, no? Which integrates both crops and animals. Profitability, okay? So, in terms of profitability, the market must be considered. The type of agribusiness or agricultural ventures that will be crafted, no? Stability and stability, ibig sabihin ng stability is on uh, how the farm will uh, continuously ventured. Like for example, nabanggit ko kanina, stable ba na iisa lang ang itanim mo? Or it is very risky, no? So, for the farm to be stable, for a certain farm to be stable, then it needs to have a multi or interdisciplinary approach, no? Okay. Kapag na-observe niyo yung mga accredited farms ng Department of Agriculture and ATI, hindi lang po iisa ang kanilang venture. Okay? Meron silang kabir, okay? Meron silang chicken, meron silang fish, nagtatanim ng gulay, okay? Yung iba pa may products na develop or na process, no? So see, so it's very stable source of income because once na yung isa ay nag-bug down or nagkaroon ng problema kasi hindi natin maiiwasan ang natural calamities, at least nabanggit ko kanina, there will be a certain discipline that will hold and make the farm stable. May sasalo, no? Like for example, ASF, natamaan ang baboy mo ng ASF, nagbaboy ka lang, wala na, mawawala na lahat ng income mo. So, and then sustainability. Okay, so how will you sustain the income of the farm? Like for example, nabanggit natin kanina, networking is very much important, no? That's why during the bottoms-up planning, market linkage partnership must be considered by the family, no? In order for the continuous production and continuous market, continuous buyer, and you have a penetrated market, no? Meron ka ng soki para hindi ka na mamumroblema sa yung market. Okay. Component-oriented approach. Like for example, you need to have complementary considerations of your farm. What are those complementary considerations? Your farm neighbors, yung mga kapitbahay niyong farms, no? Baka yung kapitbahay mong farms, they are conventional, ikaw ay traditional, no? You need to observe those and have a buffer zone, no? Kaya kapag ma-observe niyo itong mga accredited farms, they have greenhouse, no? Yung mga nag-hog raising malayo sa community to avoid infectious diseases. Okay? So the objectives of FSA or the farming system approach is to develop farm household system of a rural community on a sustainable basis. Kasi nga sa rural community natin matatagpuan ang mga farms and household system in the Philippines. It was published that the farmers are one of the poorest community. So expected that some poor or poor rural are farmers, which is true. So now we have here the farming system approach in order for us to teach our farmers on how to deal with farming as a business. Okay? Now, we have here improved efficiency in farm production. So, in farm production, yes, we know that you know how to raise animals. We know that you know how to plant vegetables or crops, but how will you ensure the efficiency of your production? Okay, like for example, how will your products attain a higher price? Okay, mag-organic farming ka ba kasi kukunti lang, or mag-gap ka na lang, or ano kaya, no? And then we have here to raise farm family income. To raise the farm and family income in at least a regular basis. Like for example, crop programming, no? Imagine that the prices of vegetables is fluctuating. Also the hog, no? But if you have a regular supply, then
your income will be stable, no? Hindi tsamba-tsamba, hindi parang sugal ang pagfa-farm mo, no? Kasi hindi natin alam yung presyo because of the law of demand and supply. But if you have a regular supply, you have crop programming, you have production programming, you have scheduled production, then you could attain a stable income. Kasi mahirap ang minsanan na production. Natsamba ang dyan nagbaba nga presyo, natsambahan mo yung mababang presyo, then wala na. Iswerte mo kung mataas. Okay? To increase welfare of farm families and satisfy basic needs. Because in a rural community, mostly, we could founder the farmers, and the welfare of farm families needs to be secured. Like for example, their income, no? Their machineries. Nag-alaga ng 100 heads, wala palang insurance, no? Hindi kumuha ng insurance sa PCIC, natamaan ng ASF, no? Di wala ng welfare ang farm families. So those are the factors we need to ensure that the farmers must be knowledgeable about their safety and their welfare. Okay? Here in Ifugao, I don't know if there are farmers who intended or who secured crop insurance from PCIC. PCIC is Philippine Crop Insurance Corporation. Okay. So differentiating farming systems. So here as follows. The following farm enterprises could be promoted. So agriculture plus livestock. Okay. So tingnan niyo, hindi iisa ang venture ng farming systems dyan. Okay. So pwedeng agriculture plus livestock or agriculture plus livestock plus poultry. Okay. So agriculture, you will produce both agronomic crops and horticultural crops, or you were to deal agronomic crops, horticulture plus sericulture. What is this sericulture? You were to produce silk, okay, out from sericulture process, no? What's from the fiber cotton of an insect, okay? O pwede ring agriculture plus fisheries plus poultry plus you were to raise ducks, and now will complement an integrated farm. So the integration of two farm enterprises, hindi lang iisa. Okay, so analysis of existing farming system. So identification of major socio-economic situation. Okay, so what is the situation of the farms, no? So you were to analyze. Okay, so you were to analyze the situation, the economic situation of your community. Okay, but within that community, if you were to implement a good farming system, you have plans, you have marketing plans, production plan. Okay, you were to integrate farming, no? Ikaw ang naiiba sa community, then the others will follow. Okay, so understanding dominant enterprises and most common farming systems. As I mentioned earlier, common farming systems will, okay, kapag common ang system or kapag common ang practice ng isang ng community, sila din ang nagko-kompetensyahan sa merkado. They are competing among themselves. So yun yung isang understanding on how a farmer has a dominant enterprise in a community, most especially if it is an agricultural related venture, no? Okay, next. Analysis of economic viability of existing farming system. Like for example, you want hydroponics as one of your technology. But then hydroponic is very expensive because of the nutrient pads, the materials. Oh, it's not economically viable, and only hotels can afford to buy your product. Okay? Understanding the relationship between different enterprises in the system and the linkages between the farming systems. No? Linkages or partnership or networks among the system. Okay. Understanding the modification made in existing farming system by innovative farmers, because there are some factors or some situations that we need to consider. Understanding the changing scenario in rural areas and its impact on existing farming. Like for example, no, in a community or in a farm community, iisa lang ang may greenhouse. How will it impact the community? Okay, so as they observe, we know the Filipino tradition that Filipino are the greatest imitators. No. Nakita niya nag-greenhouse ang isang farmer, kumikita, o nag-greenhouse na lahat. Or nagtanim siya ng isang crop, o tinmamajay kamatis na, o nagkamatis na silang lahat. Or nagtarakon ti baboy, o nagbaboy na silang lahat without consideration of its impact to the farming system and as well as the community. Okay, but for the focus situation, I think competition in agricultural products is not a problem since it's very less, except for Tino, no. But if the community has different products, then they are promoting each other, supporting each other, and they are not competing among their products. Identification of new market opportunities and its impact and relevance to socio-economic situation. This is what I've been mentioning a while ago, that what are other factors or what are other considerations that you were to find a market opportunities? Is it only in the wet market? No. Oh. If you found a customer online, then that is a market. If you found a buyer, then that is a market. No? Suki. Okay? So, wet market is not only the market for a certain product. Okay. Suitable modification made by innovative farm families in existing system. Some observations of the farms, like for example, here in Lamot, there are a lot of organic farms that is innovative. And some farms already are for tourism. So, it is an indirect income from farming. Okay? Aside from the common type of system, farming system. And in type of modification made, diversification or intensification of enterprise. Ibig sabihin ng diversification, a diversification of a farm enterprise, ibig sabihin, iba-ibang enterprise sa farm. No? Mag-deal siya ng fish production, or he will deal in all aspect of production, either crop, animal. Pwede ring mag-engage siya ng other business or food processing, magpatay ng restaurant, so on and so forth. Okay, so what is IFS? So farming system designates a set of agricultural activities organized into units. Like, for example, preserving the land productivity, you were to improve the productivity of your land. So, maximize its usage. Okay, so the integrated farming system is a commonly used term to explain a more integrated approach to farming compared to monoculture approaches. That's what I mentioned a while ago, that an integrated approach of farming is better than monoculture. Monoculture means only one approach in farming. Okay, so we have here an example. So, integrate livestock in crop production or integrate fish and livestock, may be sometimes known as integrated biosystem. Okay. So for further explanation, the resource management strategies achieving the economy in sustaining agricultural production. So both ventures are supporting each other. As I mentioned earlier, the diverse way of your farming or integration of more than two disciplines of farming will support the sustainability of your farm. Okay, how about its concept? Okay, in recycling your products or byproduct of a certain input will link to another one. Like for example, chicken manure from your poultry will be used as a fertilizer, will be processed as a fertilizer of your crops. And your crops, like for example, the corn, the rice, the vegetables, could be utilized as a food also for your animals. And it reduces cost of production because you are producing your own feeds, you are producing your own fertilizers. Yung kulang na lang, di yun na lang ang iyong bilhin for your farm. And as well as it will increase the total income of the farm. Why? You are not only earning in one venture. Okay? So you're earning in different agricultural ventures you established in your farm. Okay? You have your hog raising, poultry, vegetable production, and as I mentioned earlier, that the family labor around the year must be incorporated in the computation of your expenses. No? So record keeping is also a part of a systematized farming for you to have for you to compute your actual income in your farm. So in short, the farming system is a step-by-step process in engaging for more than two agricultural ventures. Okay, so we have here examples of integrated farming system. So we have here different approaches of farming, like crop husbandry could be mixed into livestock production, poultry, duckery, horticulture, aquaculture, apiculture. Apiculture, this is the production of honey from the cultured bees, mushroom production, agroforestry, and some other miscellaneous agricultural enterprises like food processing. No? Pag dinabenta yung baboy mo kasi walang bumili, what will you do? No? Because it will just consume feeds, and that is another expense. No? If you have an excess crops, what will you do? Okay, so the last resort could be processing. Okay, so second to the last slide, so we have here the types of integrated farming systems. So we have the crop and live farming system. And we have here the crop, livestock, fishery farming system, the approach of three approaches of farming. Until you were to include also here silvipastoral system. No? Silviculture, if you were to deal with trees, no? Like here in Ifugao, we are so fond of furnitures, then that could be also integrated in your farm. You will plant those fast growing trees, okay, as if as one source of your income aside from merely poultry or crop production. And lastly, we have here the home garden agroforestry system. Like for this time, it's pandemic, home gardening or backyard gardening is very rampant nowadays for home consumption. Okay, so I discussed that already. Okay, so factors determining type of farming. So we have here the physical factor, the climate, the soil, the topography. This is the summary of the chapter. The economic factor, we have here the marketing cost. In computing the marketing cost, you need to include the transportation, the labor. Also, you were to include here the packing and packaging materials. No? The capital, the land value, or you have there the rent, baka nag-rent kayo ng farm. No? Competition for enterprises, like as I mentioned earlier, planning or conducting business planning or conducting a feasibility study is required before you are to engage in certain agricultural ventures. And you need to assess also the prevalence of pests in diseases. As we mentioned earlier, that prevention of your farm, you must have buffer zone from neighbor's farm. No? You must have barrier to avoid the entrance of diseases in your farm. Most especially, your farm must be secured. No? Baka yung mga bisita nyo o sila pala ang nagdala ng disease. Okay? Social factor, this includes the community. What type of community? Is it rural or is it suburban or urban? No? The transportation and marketing facilities. Like for example, your transport car. What transport car is required or recommended to transport crops in the market to maintain its freshness? No? It needs to be ventilated, open ba? No? But the required is at least refrigerated to maintain its freshness. And then the objective of determining your farming system is, of course, the income. No? The income and on how you minimize the cost. Before you can integrate a two discipline of farming, you need first to compute the production and the projected income. That's why you need to conduct a feasibility study before establishing a certain integrated farm. And lastly, you need to consider the availability of your resources. Okay, so factors deciding nature and size of enterprises in farming system. The farm size. No? Maybe you have 300 square meters of farm. What are the possible farming methods you were to establish? The possibility. Okay, pwede ba ang in the 300 area you were to integrate pastoral? No? As well as long as you were to maximize the use of your land. And then marketing facilities, you need to establish your stock room, your packing house, etc. You need also to consider the edaphic factor. The edaphic factor is the soil, no, for agricultural production. The technologies available, the income level of your possible buyers and consumers, the credit facility. Okay, is your crop or hogs insured? No? So we have here the crop insurance. Oh. May crop insurance ba ang tanim mo sa iyong farm? No? There's a certain, in the Philippine Crop Insurance Corporation, the PCIC, pwede ring insure ang costly machineries, that is non-crop insurance. No? For livestock, it is required that at least 50 heads of livestock before it can be registered for crop insurance. For crops, like for example rice, depending on how wide is your area. Okay, So skills and knowledge of farmer is essential. As I mentioned earlier in the previous slide, we have there the perception and the acceptance of technology of a certain farmer must be assessed by you. No? So, kapag ayaw na ng technology or yung traditional lang ang alam niyang gawin, yung alam niya lang, ayaw niyang i-accept ang ibang technology, then you need to intervene. Okay? And we have here the social accessibility. No? In the community, how accessible is your community from buyers? How is your community known? No? So we are very advantageous here in Ifugao because it is known for its rice terraces. No? But aside from that, it is also a tourist destination. Okay. So before I will end the presentation, I will just want to share this quote. So farmers don't just work till the sun goes down. They work until the job gets done. So that's all, and thank you.